Look closely at this solid piece of honeycomb wax. When heated, it rapidly melts into a translucent puddle. The original shape, smell, and texture are entirely gone. Yet human reason dictates that it remains the exact same piece of wax. To explain how an object can lose all its physical properties but remains the same entity, early philosophers relied on a concept called substance, an invisible, underlying essence that persists regardless of outward changes. This assumption of an unobservable core was popularized by René Descartes and the broader rationalist tradition. By relying on an undetectable essence to define reality, these philosophers built their systems on metaphysical faith rather than observable fact. This library represents the academic consensus of the 18th century, an environment that treated Cartesian substance as an unquestionable law of nature. That consensus went unchallenged until David Hume published his Treatise of Human Nature, a strict empiricist critique of the establishment. Hume argued that the rationalist concept of substance is a complete cognitive illusion, born of linguistic confusion. By holding every concept to a strict standard of observation, he set out to dismantle the idea of material substance and ultimately prove that the human soul does not exist. If his radical deduction holds true, it completely shatters our intuitive understanding of what a human being actually is. Hume's diagnostic tool for evaluating any philosophical claim is known as the copy principle. The rule is simple. Every valid idea must trace back to a specific prior impression. Impressions are vivid, raw data, like seeing red. Ideas are faint copies used in thought. If a concept fails this test, it must be discarded as fiction. Hume posed a direct challenge to the rationalists. Identify the specific sensory impression from which the idea of substance is copied. The copy principle acts as an aggressive filter. It shifts the burden of proof away from abstract logic and demands raw, observable data. We can apply this test to a familiar physical object, like an apple. Our sensory organs receive a red color, a sweet taste, and a spherical shape, distinct data points. But does the eye see substance as a color? Does the palate taste it? No. Without a sensory impression, the core does not exist. Hume replaces this with a model known as bundle theory. Under this theory, objects are merely collections of simple, contiguous properties, united entirely by the human imagination. We assign a single word, apple, to this bundle, tricking ourselves into believing it is a single solid entity. The physical world is not made of enduring solid essences. It is a loose aggregate of properties temporarily bound by our conceptual categorization. Hume then turned this empiricist test inward, targeting the human mind and Descartes' famous assertion, "I think, therefore I am." He posed a devastating introspective question. From what specific internal impression is the idea of the self derived? To possess a continuous self, you would require a single, unwavering impression that remains identical throughout your entire life. This abstract video illustrates Hume's actual introspective findings. When looking inward, he only observes specific, fleeting states: heat, cold, pain, pleasure, love, and hatred. He never catches a static observer, existing independently of these passing perceptions. Under bundle theory, the human mind is merely a theater of successive perceptions, but without any stage, walls, or container holding them. Personal identity is a metaphysical fiction. There is no enduring you connecting your past, present, and future states. This creates a psychological paradox. If reality is a fragmented bundle of data, why do human beings universally experience a feeling of unbroken continuity? Hume distinguishes between an object that is truly invariable and a rapid succession of related objects. The illusion is created by a psychological mechanism he called the smooth progress of the thought. This timeline represents successive perceptions. They follow one another so closely in time and resemble each other so strongly that the mind glosses over the gaps. The imagination actively bridges these gaps, drawing an imaginary connecting line to feign a continuing existence. The feeling of a unified self is not the discovery of an objective soul. It is an automatic cognitive bias designed by the imagination to make sense of disjointed data. The mind invents the fiction of substance specifically to reconcile the contradiction between our disjointed senses and our desire for order. Hume does not suggest we abandon the concept of identity in daily life. It is a vital, pragmatic tool for survival, memory, and communication. This typographic layout highlights his ultimate conclusion. Identity is a grammatical convenience, relying entirely on the relations of ideas rather than physical laws. Human beings are not static entities moving through time. We are fluid, ongoing processes bound together by the storytelling power of our own minds.